He told me, "This is just a bonus for loyalty." And then he tossed me the keys to a Porsche. Not a toy, not a joke, an actual Porsche. In the office garage, in front of people. I swear, the whole place went silent for a second like someone had dropped a glass. And I'm 27. I work as a junior analyst at a hedge fund in New York. Which sounds fancy, but in reality it means I'm glued to Excel 16 hours a day, living off burnt coffee and Advil. First in my family to graduate college, grew up in Queens. This job was supposed to be my golden ticket. Instead, it's mostly stress and fluorescent lights that make you look like a zombie. NNMY boss, let's call him Marcus, is textbook hedge fund boss. Rolex flashing every time he checks his phone, voice too loud in meetings. People laugh at jokes that aren't funny. And he's got these lines he throws out like darts. Without me, you're nothing. HR doesn't need to know everything. At first, I thought he was just being cocky. Over time, it felt more like warnings. Anyway, the Porsche. It was a Thursday. I just killed myself finishing a model he barely skimmed. He pulled me aside in the garage, jingled the fob in front of me, and said, "You earned it." My brain glitched. I mean, what do you even say when your boss gives you a six-figure car? Half of me was like, holy SH*T, this can't be real. The other half was already panicking. If I take this, I'm tied to him forever. And here's the thing. People saw it. One guy from compliance walked by, raised his eyebrows and said, "Nice perk." Then he just walked off. My phone blew up with Slack pings. "Is that your car? How did you pull that off?" It felt like a spotlight I never asked for. NNTHAT night, we had a team dinner. Marcus leaned back with his glass of red wine and said, loud enough for the whole table, "She's loyal. I take care of my loyal people." And yeah, his wife was right there, sitting 3 seats away. She looked at me with this frozen smile that felt sharper than a knife. That was the first time I realized everyone knew NNTHE details stick in my head. The clink of glasses going quiet, the cold air rushing in when the restaurant door opened, her perfume cutting through everything. Sharp, expensive, impossible to ignore. My hands were shaking under the table while I smiled like nothing was wrong. When we left, Marcus leaned down and whispered, "HR doesn't need to know about the Porsche." Just like that. Like it was normal, like it was already our secret. And I swear, that sentence hit harder than the gift itself. Henan, I remember walking home, the keys heavy in my pocket, cold metal against my hand, like a chain. I Googled, "Can you refuse a Porsche gift from your boss?" And yeah, spoiler, no good answers. That's when it clicked. This wasn't generosity. It wasn't even about me. It was leverage. And that's when I decided, if he was going to trap me with this, I needed proof. By the next morning, the whole office had basically turned into a rumor mill. My Slack DMs were blowing up with side-eye emojis, and somebody actually dropped a blurry pic of the Porsche in a general channel like it was some kind of meme. I muted everything, but the damage was done. That car wasn't just a car anymore. It was a headline waiting to happen. At 9:15, compliance pinged me. "Quick chat?" The guy, Paul, pulled me into one of those glass rooms where sound travels anyway. He asked 3 soft questions that weren't soft at all. Did I accept non-cash compensation? Was there any record of it? Were there witnesses? I stammered something like, "It was a misunderstanding." He wrote something down without changing expression. My stomach dropped. That's when I realized. This wasn't private NNBY lunchtime. The vibe was poison. Conversation shut down when I walked past. Marcus strolled through like nothing was off, patted people's shoulders, then stopped at my desk. He dropped the Porsche fob next to my keyboard and said, "You earned it." Loud. People heard. My ears went hot. I didn't touch it. He leaned closer. "Don't be dramatic." I slid it into my drawer, and that tiny act felt like rebellion. At 3 p.m. HR scheduled a, quote, culture check-in. Not urgent, but the wording screamed, investigation. A few minutes later, Marcus texted me, "Delete the garage pic if you see it again." I replied, "I didn't post it." He shot back, "You're too sensitive. It's just a car." That phrase again. Same script. Gaslight, minimize, blame. Done eating. Then came the public scene. Strategy meeting with 20 people. Halfway through, Marcus veers off topic and says, "By the way, appreciation matters here. We reward loyalty." And yeah, he stared straight at me. Everyone turned to look. The silence was brutal. Paul from compliance sat in the corner, stone-faced, but I swear he clocked it. My pulse was thudding in my ears. That's when I thought, I need a witness. I tapped my phone awake under the table. Not recording yet, but ready. He didn't cross the line in that moment, but the message was clear. I was his example. Afterward, I headed for the elevators and almost walked into his wife. She didn't work there, but she popped in before events sometimes. Perfect blazer, perfect lipstick. She smiled like I was wallpaper and said, "You're the analyst." My throat went dry. Her eyes flicked down to my jacket pocket, where the fob bulged through the fabric. She knew NNTHAT night we had an investor gala. I wasn't even supposed to be front stage, just backstage handling slides. The ballroom smelled like hotel coffee and too much cologne. At 7:52, Marcus found me by the AV booth. He said, "Drive the car up front when we're done," like it was an order. I whispered back, "I shouldn't be seen with it." He smiled, still scanning the room. "No one will believe you if you make this weird." I swear my stomach dropped to my shoes. After his speech, he mingled like nothing was wrong. His wife stood by the stairs with champagne, eyes locked on me. When the Porsche rolled up outside, I opened my phone in my tote and hit record. Her voice carried enough for the mic. "He calls it loyalty. I call it leverage." Then a laugh. Cold. Calculated. Micro-hook moment. And outside, the marble floor was slick. The car's engine idling like it was waiting for me. Marcus texted again. "Bring it around now." I typed back, "I'll get Paul." His reply came fast. "Do not involve compliance." That was the receipt I needed. I screenshotted it instantly. The time I walked back in, 2 junior associates were snapping selfies with the Porsche like it was some trophy. One joked, "Marry the guy and keep the car." The other laughed, "HR is gonna love this." Their voices were too loud. I realized I wasn't a secret anymore. And watching his wife slip out, phone pressed to her ear, face tight with purpose, that was the moment I knew the fuse was lit. By the next morning, walking into the office felt like stepping into an airport scanner. Every look burned through me. People didn't talk, they just paused when I passed. The Porsche wasn't just a car anymore. It was gossip with wheels. At 10 a.m., I got a calendar invite from HR, check-in culture plus boundaries. My stomach flipped. Marcus strolled past my desk right then, coffee in hand, grinning like always. He leaned down and said, "Smile more, or you'll look guilty." Who even says that? I wanted to laugh in his face, but I froze. Honestly, that was the moment I knew he was spiraling. NNBY lunch. Slack was still buzzing. Someone DM'd me a screenshot. Marcus's text about deleting the garage photo. Apparently he'd sent it to more than one person. The caption said, "He's sloppy." That's when it hit me. I wasn't the only one collecting receipts. People were quietly waiting for him to fall. NNTHE real escalation came at the quarterly board prep. Packed room, directors everywhere, assistants juggling slides. Marcus, in his tailored navy suit, looked untouchable. Then one director asked about employee retention. Marcus smiled and said, "We know how to keep loyalty here. I make sure my people are rewarded." And yep, he locked eyes with me across the table. Everyone saw it. His wife was in the back row scrolling her phone like she didn't hear. But I know she did. The silence after that line was ice cold. NNMY palms were slick against the polished table. Overhead lights buzzed, and the burnt coffee smell from the corner machine made me nauseous. I remember thinking, this is the exact second everything changes. After the meeting, Paul from compliance caught me by the elevators. He asked quietly, "Do you feel comfortable documenting any of this?" I hesitated, muttered something about not being sure. He said, "You don't need to decide today. Just know we're watching." That gave me a sliver of relief. I wasn't crazy. People knew NNTHAT night. I finally replayed the recording from the gala. Her voice, his wife's, came through clear. He calls it loyalty. I call it leverage. Glasses clinking, a chair scraping, and then her laugh. Cold, not amused. Hearing it out loud gave me chills. It was like confirmation that this wasn't just in my head. She knew exactly what he was doing. Then Marcus texted again. "Dinner tomorrow." No excuses. I typed back. Not appropriate. He fired back instantly. Stop being dramatic. Without me, you're nothing. I stared at the screen, screenshot it, and dropped it into my hidden folder. My heart was pounding so hard I thought my neighbors could hear it. And sleep didn't happen that night. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw the Porsche headlights in the garage. Bright beams cutting through the dark like interrogation lamps. I heard his whisper in my ear again. HR doesn't need to know. Over and over. The symbols stacked up. Keys, screenshots, recordings. It didn't feel like gifts anymore. It felt like evidence. NNTHE next day was worse. I passed 2 coworkers in the hall, and one muttered just loud enough, "Perks of loyalty, huh?" They laughed, but not in a friendly way. I looked up and saw Marcus leaning against the glass wall, arms crossed, watching me. He mouthed, "Relax." I swear, my hands clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. And at 4 p.m., his wife appeared again. She walked straight up to my desk, perfume hitting before she even spoke. She dropped a folded seating chart in front of me and said, "Observe." Just that. Then she walked off. My fingers shook opening the paper. My name was written in, circled. Was that a warning? A setup? NNTHE office went weirdly quiet after that. People had seen her hand me something, and suddenly I was radioactive. Paul walked by my desk twice, slower than usual. Marcus didn't mention it at all, which honestly was scarier than if he had yelled. Silence meant planning. NNTHAT, night in my apartment. I laid the Porsche keys on the counter, cold metal against the cheap laminate. I whispered, "This isn't a gift. It's a trap." My voice cracked, but it was the truth. And that's when I decided I wasn't just going to survive this. I was going to fight. The next morning, I couldn't bring myself to walk straight into the office. I sat in a coffee shop across the street with my laptop open, pretending to work, hands shaking around a paper cup. The hiss of the espresso machine drowned out my thoughts. Finally, I opened a hidden folder in my cloud drive and named it Receipts. I dropped in every screenshot, every text, the audio file of his wife's voice, even a photo of the Porsche with the license plate clear. That was the moment I thought, if he wants leverage, I'll have mine too. When I finally walked into the office, Marcus was already waiting at my desk. The Porsche fob was spinning in his hand like a coin. He dropped it on my keyboard and said, "Don't forget this." I kept my voice flat. I'm not comfortable with it. His smile never moved. "Don't play dumb. This is for your benefit." Same script, different day. Then the kicker, HR won't believe you. You're too sensitive. I swear, that phrase is like a poison pill. You start to question your own reality, until you realize it's the script abusers always use. And at lunch, I found Paul in the cafeteria. He was alone, stirring his coffee. My heart was pounding when I sat down. I whispered, "If I showed you something, would you protect me?" He froze, then nodded. I slid my phone across, screen lit with Marcus's text. "Without me, you're nothing." Paul's eyes widened. He said quietly, "This is enough to open an inquiry." For the first time, I felt like maybe I wasn't insane. NNTHAT relief didn't last. That evening, Marcus called me into his office. The door clicked shut, blinds half closed. He gestured at the Porsche keys on his desk. "You think you can flip this on me? Don't. Without me, you're nothing." His tone was sharp, controlled rage. "Then, you'll regret trying to embarrass me." My hands were sweating, but I forced myself to say, "Then stop making it embarrassing." Silence. Then he laughed. That laugh scared me more than the threat, and I left his office shaking. My phone buzzed with another text. "Dinner. 7 p.m. Don't make me chase you." I screenshotted it and dropped it into Receipts. My folder was becoming a graveyard of his words. NNBUT. The countermove wasn't just saving evidence. It was pulling other people into the light. That night, I quietly told 2 colleagues, "If anyone asks, I didn't accept that car." They exchanged looks. One whispered, "You're not the first." That sentence sat in my chest like a stone. How many others had carried his so-called perks, like invisible chains? At the investor dinner, I followed the seating chart his wife had handed me. She sat across the table, perfectly calm, scanning the room. Marcus charmed the board, cracking jokes, pouring wine. Halfway through, he raised a toast. To loyalty, the rarest commodity. Glasses clinked, but hers stayed down. She leaned toward the director beside her, and I swear I heard her murmur one word: divorce. My stomach clenched. Later, in the hallway, she found me. The air smelled faintly of cigarettes from the valet line. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Keep the car. It makes my case easier." Then she walked away, heels clicking against marble. My knees almost gave out. Case? Divorce? Suddenly it hit me. This wasn't just my fight. I was part of hers. And back at my apartment that night, I lined up the Porsche keys, my phone with screenshots glowing on the screen, and my laptop folder full of files. I whispered out loud, "He can't bury me if I go first." My voice cracked, but for once I believed it. That's when I realized surviving wasn't enough. The only way out was to drag him into the light. The fallout came faster than anyone expected. Monday morning, my inbox pinged with a calendar invite marked Emergency Governance Review. Those words don't show up unless something's on fire. By 11 a.m., the boardroom was packed, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, air heavy with burnt coffee and tension. I wasn't supposed to be in that meeting, but Paul from compliance waved me in. Marcus strolled in like it was business as usual, Rolex flashing, jacket slung over the chair. He started his usual speech, "I take care of loyalty." But this time, his wife was sitting at the table too, right next to two directors. She slid a folder forward and said, "He takes care of loyalty with company assets. Let's start there." My heart pounded so loud I thought everyone could hear it. NNSHE opened the folder. Inside, printed screenshots of his texts, photos of the Porsche, a typed transcript of her own words from the gala. He calls it loyalty. I call it leverage. My knees went weak. She had her own trail. My folder of receipts wasn't even needed. She already had the arsenal. Marcus went pale. For once, there was no smirk, no booming voice. Just sweat at his temple, catching the light. He muttered, "This is taken out of context." A board member shot back. "So context is gifting subordinates six-figure cars? Explain." The silence after that was crushing. And I stayed quiet. I didn't need to speak. Paul confirmed that compliance had been monitoring. HR shuffled their papers. The board pressed harder. All the symbols that haunted me, the keys, the screenshots, the whispers, were now evidence in broad daylight. Then Marcus snapped. He pointed at me across the table and said, "She's too sensitive. She wanted this. Without me, she's nothing." His voice cracked. The glass doors meant the whole floor could see him unraveling. Witnesses everywhere. A public collapse. NNHI's wife didn't blink. She leaned in and said, "Without you, she's free." The words landed like a hammer. Security showed up within the hour. No yelling, no cuffs, just a quiet escort to the elevators. But everyone watched. By the time the doors closed, Slack already had a new channel trending. Marcus, exit. And I sat frozen in that chair, nails digging crescents into my palms. Relief didn't come right away. It was more like static fading. The buzzing lights felt softer. The air finally moved. I realized my body had been clenched for weeks. And in THAT night, the Porsche was still parked in the garage. Headlights dim, body gleaming under concrete lamps. A relic of his arrogance. I walked past it slowly, not touching, not looking twice. The keys were sealed in an envelope on Paul's desk. Chain broken weeks later, Marcus officially resigned for personal reasons. The press wrote bland headlines about a, quote, "governance dispute." Inside the firm, people whispered about the Porsche like it was legend. Some colleagues slipped me subtle nods. "Glad you're still here. Good thing you didn't disappear." NNHI's wife filed for divorce, according to the rumors. I didn't reach out. She had her war. I had mine A's for me? Technically, I kept my job, but I wasn't the same. Every time I touch a metal key, my apartment door, my mailbox, I remember the weight of that fob in my pocket. It stopped being a gift the moment it was handed to me. It was always a chain. Not N. Sometimes I still scroll through the receipts folder, just to remind myself it happened. That I wasn't too sensitive. That leverage can cut both ways. And here's the truth. I didn't leak to the press. I didn't play hero. I just survived. His wife finished the job. Let me ask you, If your boss handed you a gift that could ruin both your career and his, would you keep it, burn it, or use it?